So remember, I've said to all of you, the organs weep the tears, the eyes refuse to shed. Okay? That means for years we've put down our emotions just to move on. This is the ways that we've been able to cope and move on with life. And then we find out the organs have remembered. So there is no hiding from it. We have to deal with these things. But sometimes when we're young, we don't know how to deal with them as well. So these things could have happened tragically when we were younger. Traumas that we've depicted on our body that have happened. So now that we know that cancer only happens in the area that's not being fed properly. So it's not like it's random. The body knows exactly what it's doing. And it's a survival mechanism. So how? How do we know this? Science. Science tells us it's an adaptation. It's not me. It's not Dr. Lodi. It's science. This is just basically what's going on in your cell. So this is, pretend this little box is a cell. And we start off here with glycolysis. And this is how every cell respirates. We start off with glucose, and glucose comes down, and it's going to go into the mitochondria, and we're going to come out and make all this ATP, which is the energy powerhouse of the cell. This is how we have energy, right? So we can have one cell that has a whole bunch of these mitochondria. And then when enough of the mitochondria become damaged, then that's when a cell flips over and becomes what we call a cancerous cell. But it's an adaptation, because if we look at glycolysis, it only produces 2 ATP. Okay? And over here, if it actually was a normal and healthy cell, we're going to produce like 34 ATP. So we know that cancer cells want sugar, which is glucose, 17 times more, 18 times more than a regular cell. When we come over here, though, and we look at it a little differently, here we're looking at a normal cell versus a tumor cell, the key on this is how a normal cell respirates versus this increase. You can't see this very well, but this is 5%. So it will go normally, it will do a normal production 5% of the time, but about 85% of the time it's going to create lactate. That is the difference between a normal cell and cancerous cells, is the production of lactate. What then causes the production of lactate? Well, it's mitochondrial dysfunction. This is all in the literature. This is not us making it up. So it says here, mitochondrial dysfunction is considered a key factor in increased lactate production, because when mitochondria are not functioning properly, cells are forced to rely more on glycolysis. Well, why does that switch? Why does our cell go from working perfectly to producing more lactate? And the answer could be stress. It's environmental factors. It's toxins. It's toxicity. It's emotional toxins, right? There's even research that says severe psychosocial stress causes mitochondrial dysfunction. These are the differences. Remember, these are the things that we've maybe had to use as coping mechanisms beforehand. This could be, hey, I live on an area where there's a lot of toxicity, and my body has to fight, it creates a lot of reactive oxygen species. The reactive oxygen species causes mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, we can have reactive oxygen species, which are free radicals, that causes aging. See, this is all the same thing. But how do then we combat that? And this is some of the things we're going to look at. So the difference between a cancer cell and a normal cell is basically if the mitochondria is functioning properly. Okay, and it's an adaptation to what's been in our environment. So it's not a disease. So we can fix it. So it's a survival mechanism, as we've said. So if we go back to this diagram here, instead of just dying, right, the cell, instead of just dying, it's still functioning. This is called the survival mechanism. So cancer's actually keeping you alive in this stage to give you time to fix stuff. Otherwise, the cell would have just died, and that could be more damaging. Cancer is a message to you from your body. It is communicating to you that something is not right within you emotionally. That is actually a quote out of the book, Braving the Storm, that I have you all reading. We actually use, instead of the word cancer, we use the word chronically fermenting cells. Because that right here is what we just saw that they were doing. They were chronically fermenting. That's it. It's not like cancer. What is that definition? It's like saying the word the. What does the mean? I don't know what the means. What does cancer mean? Same thing. Who knows? But we know what a chronically fermenting cell is. It's right here. It shows us. It's nothing to be scared of. We do it. We know because we can change it. CFCs are caused by malnutrition, dehydration, toxicity, and internal emotional stress. So we just change it.